Once again, it's Murder and Mayhem Monday. Welcome back. My name is Franklin James, the serial author. And as you can see, I am wearing the Freddy Krueger hat today. And I know Halloween was last week, but I still feel like I can get some use out of it, especially in regards to the case I want to talk about. Now, it's been making the headlines as of late, and it centers around a 15-year-old boy committing a heinous crime. And what he did to his poor family in the state of Washington would not only be considered a massacre, I'd say it'd be considered a false city nightmare. I'm talking about the Humiston family. Now, if you are familiar with this horrific story, then I definitely want to give you my perspective because it takes a very sick mind to do what that 15-year-old boy did to his family. But if you aren't too familiar with this case, I will do an overview of what happened. It's heartbreaking. It reminds me of the actual Amityville house story, where their son murdered his entire family. The similarities are uncanny, but let's get into it. Now, this horrific massacre took place a little before 5 a.m. on October 21st of this year in the state of Washington. And here's what I discovered. 5 members of the Humiston family, including both parents, Mark and Sarah, were shot and killed in cold blood. Now, I want to start by giving you guys the narrative the 15-year-old provided during his 911 call and talk about the call itself, because I think it kind of gives you an insight to his mindset. So, according to the 911 operator, Humiston, the 15-year-old, he sounded out of breath and stated, "He just shot my whole family and committed suicide too." Now, during the conversation, the 15-year-old also stated that his brother had killed their family and taken himself out, and that he was currently hiding in the bathroom on the main floor of their house. Now, the 15-year-old also gave a motive for his brother killing the family and stated that he was caught watching pornography the night before and that he knew he was going to get in trouble the next day. Now, the 15-year-old may have been out of breath. I mean, he did just massacre his entire family. So, yeah, I can believe that, right? Or, he was acting as if he were out of breath because he knew it would sound convincing, which, again, the logic. And then the story about the brother, watching porn and then he's going to get in trouble. So he has to kill his entire family. I mean, that sounds like something a 15-year-old boy would make up, right? For someone to go to such lengths to not get in trouble, I'm not buying it. For someone to kill their entire family, that takes an incredible amount of rage and years of suppressing your emotions. It's not an isolated incident, what took place. And like I said before, the pornography and getting into trouble, I don't believe it, but I can believe that the 15-year-old himself may have gotten in trouble a time or two because he was watching porn. I believe that. They say in every great lie, there's some truth. There's some truth involved. And, maybe that was his truth. But then again, the lie wasn't great. So there is that. Now, I also discovered the 15-year-old Humiston tampered with evidence by attempting to stage the crime scene. Now, he used his father's gun, his Glock, as the murder weapon and placed it in his brother's hand while his brother was dead on the ground. Now, that Glock was secured in a safe that the 15-year-old knew the combination to. Again, there's the logic, right? I mean, he's 15 years old. He doesn't know it's not as easy as just placing a gun in someone's hand to signal guilt. It's evident he doesn't know much about forensics because if he did, he probably would have thought twice, but again, he's young, he doesn't know how these things go. He just knows, oh, maybe if I say this and I do that, this will be the outcome. Now, his plan backfires immediately because something happens that he did not anticipate. And unlike the Amityville horror, someone survives. And that's the 15-year-old's 11-year-old sister. Now, she was shot, but she played dead. And she escaped out of a window and rushed to a neighbor's house. Now, the 11-year-old is claiming that the eldest brother, the 15-year-old, is responsible for it all. She said she heard screaming outside of her bedroom before he walked in and shot her. And I can't begin to imagine the terror and fear that she felt. I mean, this is her own brother, her own family doing this to her. It's It's unimaginable. She then said she saw the bodies of her family members in the hallway before she escaped. And it's interesting because the eldest brother, the 15-year-old Humiston, has no idea that she's still alive. So while he's on the phone with 911 telling his version of what happened, she's at the neighbor's house with 911 doing the same. Like I said before, this story is truly heartbreaking, and I really feel bad for that 11-year-old girl. Her entire family was massacred, was taken away from her, and that's traumatizing. Now, the 15-year-old Humiston is a juvenile, which is why his name hasn't been released to the public. And it's why the courts are trying to decide whether or not to try him as an adult. And this may be an unpopular opinion, but I think he should be tried as an adult. I mean, killing your entire family isn't like wrecking your parents' car on a night out. Cars can be fixed. The damage he's done is everlasting. He knew full well what he was doing and it was premeditated. But ultimately, we want to know why, right? Why did he take such measures and go to such extremes? What was going on inside of his home that caused him to finally snap? Because there are a number of reasons why children might fantasize about killing their parents. And perhaps for the 15-year-old Humiston, it was about independence. And a lot of kids, as they get older, they crave that independence and that freedom, which is why they believe their parents are being too controlling and too overbearing, taking away their liberties and their privileges and just simply being too strict. And again, as they get older, these kids might begin to internalize these negative emotions, causing them to fester, reaching a point where all they desire is a different life. All they want is independence. So they feel as though they need to take matters into their own hands. But in a lot of cases, there's some form of abuse involved, whether it be physically or emotionally. And a kid reaches a point where they can no longer tolerate that situation anymore and they have to do something about it. They feel as though they have to take those extreme measures out of self preservation to take back control. And I question whether or not the 15-year-old Humiston suffered from some undiagnosed personality disorder or some mental illness in general. And the fact that he murdered his siblings as well, I mean, that's overkill. And I question whether or not he did it out of vengeance because he resented them, because in his mind, they were treated better than he was, or it was out of necessity, to tie up loose ends, to leave no witnesses. Or it could have been both. Either way, it's fucking horrible. Now, one thing I do know and I'd like to examine is how all the Humiston children were homeschooled, which may have influenced what happened. But I can certainly see the benefits of homeschooling. I mean, there's stronger parental bonds and learning at your own pace, reduce stress from peer pressure, and tailoring the education to fit, what kids need. So I definitely understand and see the value in homeschooling. But then on the other hand, in regards to homeschooling, I learned that there can be parental pressure to do well, which can be stressful. I mean, kids might feel that in general, homeschooled or not, right? Parents can have, high expectations. And, a kid might feel a little stressed out, and anxious about wanting to do well, wanting to please that parent. But I did learn as well when it comes to homeschooling that, it can lead to a lack of peer interaction, which, it is noted that the Humanstons were active in the community, but, for kids, it's different. And then ultimately, when it comes to the cons of homeschooling, from what I've gathered, social interactions just tend to be a big thing. Without consistent interactions with a diverse group of peers, homeschoolers might have difficulty developing social skills. But like I said before, it was stated that the Humanstons were active in the community, so I'm sure they knew all about the importance of social interactions. But was it enough or was it even helpful? I question whether or not the negative aspects of homeschooling influenced the 15-year-old's decision making, which caused him to do what he did. Truth be told, at the end of the day, that 15-year-old boy massacred his entire family. Well, almost his entire family. And it could have been for any of the reasons that I named or something that I haven't even considered. But if you guys have any theories or any input, please leave a comment. I'd love to know what you think. Because what he did to his family was premeditated. There was clear intent to do harm. And hopefully his horrific crimes won't go unpunished. Because this was truly a Fall City nightmare. But I thank you guys for tuning in. I do ask that you stab that like button and subscribe. Leave a comment and let me know what you guys think. Crack that bell for notifications, share this video out there, and if possible, avoid mayhem.